My husband took his parents on a luxury trip the day before my due date. I gave birth alone, changed the locks, and watched him spiral when I filed for divorce. I was 38 weeks pregnant, bloated, tired, sore in places I didn't even know existed, and just trying to make it through each day. It had been a rough pregnancy, morning sickness that lasted all day in the first trimester, constant back pain, and nights where I could barely sleep more than 2 hours. But through it all, I kept telling myself that it would be worth it when I finally held my baby girl in my arms. My husband, Ethan, hadn't exactly been the most attentive partner during this time. He did the bare minimum, drove me to a few doctor's appointments, picked up takeout when I was too nauseous to cook. But emotionally, he had already checked out somewhere around the 6-month mark. I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he was stressed. Maybe impending fatherhood was overwhelming him in a way he didn't know how to express. I made excuses for him, the way wives sometimes do when they don't want to admit how alone they feel. Then one morning, I saw something that changed everything. It was a Saturday. Ethan had left his phone on the kitchen counter while he took a shower. I wasn't snooping. I swear I wasn't. I just went to set an alarm for a prenatal class reminder and saw the email notification flash across the screen. Flight confirmation, Delta Airlines, 3 passengers, departure, Sunday. I stared at it for a few seconds, confused. 3 passengers? Who else was flying with him? When he came out of the shower, I held up his phone and asked, "Hey, did you book a flight for tomorrow? What's going on?" He paused, just for a moment, but long enough that I saw it. That flicker of guilt, of hesitation. Then he brushed it off like it was nothing. "Oh yeah, I'm taking my parents to New York for a few days. Just a little trip. They've been wanting to go for ages." I blinked. "You're leaving? Tomorrow?" "Ethan, I'm due in 10 days. He shrugged. "Yeah, I know. But you won't give birth right on your due date. Most women go over." "That's not the point," I said, my voice rising. "I could go into labor early. The doctor literally said that last week." "There's a hospital 5 minutes away," he said casually. "They're professionals. You'll be fine. Your mom's here, right?" My jaw dropped. "So you're just abandoning me? Right before I give birth? What the hell, Ethan?" "I'm not abandoning you," he replied, already annoyed. "I just need a break. I've been stressed, you've been emotional, and my parents have been begging for this trip for months. I finally got some PTO, why not use it?" "Because your daughter is about to be born," I snapped. "You're seriously prioritizing a vacation over the birth of your first child?" "It's just 5 days," he said. "You're acting like I'm flying to the moon." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This wasn't some random trip with friends. He was taking his parents on a leisure getaway while I was about to push a human being out of my body. Then he added, "Honestly, I didn't tell you earlier because I knew you'd react like this. Like it was my fault. Like I was overreacting. Like I wasn't entitled to expect my husband to be there for me during the most vulnerable time of my life." That night, I lay in bed wide awake while Ethan scrolled on his phone beside me, completely unbothered. I stared at the ceiling, hand on my belly, feeling every little kick and twist from the baby who was almost here. My chest felt tight. My heart was racing. I wasn't just anxious, I was devastated. This wasn't how it was supposed to be. When we got married, Ethan promised me he'd be my partner in everything, that we'd build a life together, that we'd raise a family. But in that moment, all I saw was a selfish man who didn't want the responsibility of being a father, who saw pregnancy as a phase I had to deal with on my own. I thought about all the times I went to checkups by myself because he was too busy, the times I cried quietly in the bathroom because my back hurt so bad and he was out golfing with his friends, the times I asked him to read parenting books with me and he laughed, saying, "You've got that covered." Now he was flying off with his parents and leaving me behind like a burden he couldn't wait to shake. I wanted to scream. I wanted to beg him to stay, but I didn't. Something in me, something deep, finally snapped. He didn't deserve my begging. If this was how he treated me before our child was even born, I couldn't imagine how things would be after. I curled up on my side, hands protectively over my belly, and whispered, "Don't worry, baby girl. Mommy's got you, even if no one else does. The next morning, Ethan left. He didn't kiss me goodbye, didn't say, call me if anything happens. He just wheeled his suitcase to the door, nodded once, and said, take it easy, all right? Then he was gone, off to the airport with his parents like it was just another day. I stood at the window watching the Uber drive off with him inside, my hands resting on my massive belly. There was no goodbye hug, no looking back, no sign that I, or our unborn daughter, were even on his mind. I turned away, heart pounding, trying not to cry. I kept telling myself I was being dramatic, that I could handle this, that I was strong. But not even an hour later, the cramping started. It wasn't like the usual Braxton Hicks I'd been feeling for weeks. This was sharp, tight, deep. I froze, clutching the edge of the kitchen counter as pain pulsed through my lower abdomen. Then suddenly, I felt a warm gush between my legs. I looked down. Blood. I gasped. My hands were shaking as I ran, more like waddled, as fast as I could to the bathroom. My leggings were soaked. There was more blood than I'd ever expected. My heart raced in pure panic. Oh my God, I was alone, in pain, and terrified. I grabbed my phone with slippery hands and called Ethan. The phone rang 5 times before he finally picked up. What? He answered, clearly annoyed. I could hear traffic and his mom chatting in the background. I'm bleeding, I said, trying to stay calm. I think I'm going into labor. You need to come back. There was a pause. Then he said, Are you sure? You were fine an hour ago. Ethan, I'm not making this up, I shouted. I'm bleeding, I'm cramping, I'm alone and scared, and... In the background, I heard his mother's voice, high-pitched and sharp. Tell her not to be ridiculous. First babies never come early. She's probably just overreacting. Ethan relayed the message like it was gospel. My mom says it's probably nothing. You should call your parents. They'll take care of it. Before I could even respond, the line went dead. He hung up on me. I stared at the phone in disbelief. And then, for the first time since this nightmare began, I truly broke down. I sat on the cold tile floor, crying so hard I could barely breathe. I wasn't just heartbroken, I was shattered. After a few minutes, I wiped my face and called my mom. She picked up on the first ring. Sweetheart, are you okay? I think the baby's coming, I choked out. There's blood. I'm scared. We're on our way, she said without hesitation. Hang in there. We'll be right there. True to her word, my parents arrived within 15 minutes. My mom took one look at me, pale, doubled over, blood on my clothes, and immediately helped me into the car. My dad floored it all the way to the hospital. By the time we arrived, I could barely walk. My water broke right there in the emergency room, soaking through the towel I was sitting on. The nurses rushed me in while my mom filled out the paperwork. Everything was happening so fast. The contractions were relentless. I screamed through them, gripping the rails of the hospital bed like I was being torn apart. I begged for an epidural, and by the time they got it in, I was already dilated 8 centimeters. Babies come in fast, the nurse said. Hang in there, hun. All I could do was breathe and cry. There was no Ethan holding my hand, no whispered words of encouragement, no warm palm-brushing hair from my forehead. Just the beeping of machines, the rushing of nurses, and the tightening in my chest as I realized, I really am doing this alone. After what felt like hours, but was really less than one, I heard it, a cry. A fierce, tiny, powerful sound that sliced through the pain like light through darkness. She's here, the doctor said, smiling as he held up my daughter. She's perfect. They placed her on my chest, and I looked down into the scrunched-up pink face of this little human I had grown inside me. I sobbed, not from pain this time, but from love. Real, all-consuming, nothing else matters love. My mother stood beside me, crying too. You did it, she whispered, kissing my forehead. I held my daughter close, feeling her tiny heartbeat against mine, and thought, you were worth every second of it. Every tear, every contraction, every ounce of fear. Ethan didn't call, not that day, not even the next. But somehow, I didn't care anymore. Because as I held my baby girl in my arms, I realized something. I had everything I needed. Right here. It had been 2 days since I gave birth to Lily, and I was still processing everything. The pain, the loneliness. The deafening silence of a man who should have been there but chose not to be. Then my mom uploaded a photo of Lily to Facebook, our first quiet moment at home. I didn't think much of it. She was proud. Rightfully so. Within an hour, my phone rang. It was Ethan. I hesitated, then answered. His voice was bright, like nothing had happened. Emily, I saw the photo. Oh my God, she's beautiful. You did so great. Seriously, thank you for giving our family such a precious gift. You're the real MVP here. I couldn't even process what he was saying. You found out I gave birth through Facebook. You didn't even bother to call or check in. I bled out alone, Ethan. I didn't know. No one told me. Your mom just posted it, he said defensively. You didn't know because you didn't ask, I snapped. You were on a trip. With your parents, while I was in labor. There was a beat of silence. Then he said, Look, I get it. But what's done is done. I'll be home in 2 days. We'll talk then, okay? I didn't respond. 2 days later, I changed the locks. He arrived mid-afternoon, dragging a suitcase and a bag of duty-free chocolate. He looked relaxed, freshly showered, and completely unprepared for what was waiting. I watched from my parents' house as he stood at our front door, fumbling with his key. Then he knocked. Then he banged. Then he called. I let it ring twice before answering. What the hell, Emily? You changed the locks? Yes, I replied calmly. You're being completely unreasonable. I didn't kill anyone. I went on a trip. With my parents? You're making this bigger than it is. You abandoned me before childbirth, I said. And your mother insulted me for giving birth to a girl. Don't minimize it. You're blowing things out of proportion. I'm your husband. This is still my house. No, Ethan, I said. This house was bought by my parents. It's in my name. You walked out of our lives and expected everything to pause until you returned. It doesn't work that way. He laughed bitterly. What, so now you're kicking me out? You gonna divorce me too? Yes. The line went quiet. Then, suddenly, his tone softened. Okay, I hear you. Maybe I messed up. But don't punish Lily over this. She needs her father. Look, how about this? My parents can stay here in the city and help with the baby while you recover. That way you're not alone. I nearly laughed. So your parents, the same ones who went on vacation with you while I gave birth, will now help me so you can keep avoiding responsibility? That's your solution? It's practical, he insisted. They've offered. They're family. Then I'll bring my parents over too, I shot back. Let's see how you like a full house of in-laws. He scoffed. That's ridiculous. My parents are the baby's grandparents. And mine aren't? Don't be petty, he snapped. You're seriously considering ending our marriage over this? I'm not considering anything. I am ending it. He cursed under his breath. Unbelievable. You have no idea how hard this has been for me. I hung up. That night, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Peace. I watched Lily sleep, tiny fingers curled into fists, and whispered, I'm not doing this for revenge. I'm doing it so we both have a chance at something better. 3 days passed after I changed the locks and told Ethan I wanted a divorce. There was no apology, no sincere attempt to fix things. Just guilt-tripping, half-baked compromises, and him suggesting his parents stay in the city to help me with the baby, so he wouldn't have to. I didn't respond to any more of his texts. I was done. I was finally breathing again, and Lily was adjusting to her new rhythm. My parents took shifts helping me rest, and slowly the fog of birth and betrayal began to lift. I wasn't healed, not physically, not emotionally, but I was clear. And clarity, I learned, was a kind of freedom. Then, on a rainy Tuesday morning, the phone rang. It was Ethan's mom, again. I almost didn't answer. But curiosity, or maybe instinct, got the better of me. Emily, she shouted before I could say hello. There's been an accident. Ethan and his father were driving. Something about the brakes. Oh God, there was so much blood. I blinked. Are they okay? They're in the ER. Your father-in-law broke his leg. Ethan might need surgery. He hit his head. I'm at the hospital now. I need help. My heart panged, but not out of love, out of exhaustion. I'm recovering from childbirth, I said flatly. And I have a newborn. I can't help. You're really going to let them suffer alone? She snapped. After all this family has done for you? I nearly laughed. You mean after your son left me alone during labor? After you scolded me for giving birth to a girl? There was a beat of silence. Then she whispered, Don't you have any decency left? Actually, I said, I just found it. And I hung up. 2 days later, she posted a TikTok. Of course she did. The camera panned across the hospital room. Ethan was lying on a bed, arm in a sling, eyes closed like a fallen war hero. His father sat beside him with a leg cast, groaning dramatically. And there she stood, red-eyed, quivering lip, the grieving matriarch. My son and husband were in a horrible accident, she began tearfully. But the woman who married into this family, she didn't show up. She didn't call. She didn't even care. The caption? Abandoned when we needed her most. Pray for Ethan. It blew up. Within hours, the comment section was full of venom. Where is his wife? Women these days have no loyalty. She left him after a car crash. Unreal. Ethan commented underneath with, It's hard when the person you trusted the most walks away when you can't even stand. That one stung, not because I believed it, but because others did. Suddenly, my DMs were full of strangers calling me selfish, heartless, even abusive. Someone even found my LinkedIn and posted nasty comments under my last work update. They didn't know the truth, so I told them. That night, after Lily fell asleep, I sat on the living room floor with my laptop and opened a clean video file. No makeup, no filters, no background music. Just me. And the truth. I started with a timeline. Flight confirmation, Ethan, his parents, the day before my due date. Screenshot of our text. Me bleeding, scared. Him saying, call your mom. My hospital intake record. Discharge papers. Proof I delivered Lily alone. A shot of Lily's birth certificate, signed by me. No father present. Then came the finances. The car Ethan claimed to be paying off? Paid in full before the wedding. Bank records showing monthly payments, labeled as transfers to his parents. Our home title, my name only, paid by my parents as a wedding gift. And then the final message. I looked directly at the camera. They're not victims, they're performers. While I bled alone in a delivery room, they were sightseeing in Manhattan. When I said I needed help, they called me dramatic. When I finally stood up for myself, they turned me into a villain. You don't have to believe me, but the receipts don't lie. I uploaded it. No drama, no tags, just raw truth. By morning, it had over 800,000 views, and the internet flipped. She gave birth alone while they were on vacation. Not Emily showing up with a digital receipt book. This is why we wait for both sides. Even people who'd commented nasty things under the original TikTok came back to apologize. Ethan's mom deleted her video that afternoon. Someone reposted it with the caption, When your narrative doesn't survive contact with the facts. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt seen. It wasn't about clout. It was about finally having my voice heard, without being interrupted, shamed, or rewritten. And that was worth everything. The silence after the internet storm was almost unsettling. Ethan didn't call. His mother didn't post. For once, it felt like I was truly being left alone. 2 weeks after I posted my video, I walked into the courthouse with my lawyer and signed the divorce papers. Ethan was already there, pale and stiff in a cheap gray suit. His arm was still in a sling, a reminder of the tragic accident he and his mother had milked for sympathy. He didn't say a word, not when I walked in, not when we were called in, not even when we walked out separate doors. We agreed on joint legal custody, but physical custody was mine. Ethan would get visitation rights twice a month. He offered to transfer the car to my name as a gesture of goodwill. I declined. You've lied enough, I said. I'm not giving you a new headline to cry about online. He didn't argue. The next morning, my mom called me, laughing so hard she could barely speak. "You'll never believe who just showed up at the front door," she said. It was Ethan's parents, standing on our porch, holding gifts, asking, ever so politely, if they could see their granddaughter. Apparently, now that the dust had settled, they realized this wasn't a phase. I wasn't bluffing. I wasn't going to cave. They thought they could perform remorse the same way they'd performed victimhood. Too bad my dad was home. According to my mom, he opened the door, looked them straight in the eyes, and said, "The only thing you're going to see is the sidewalk. Now, get off my property." They left without a word. A week later, Ethan sent a text. It was long, apologetic, full of classic lines like, "I didn't realize what I had," and "Can we at least try to co-parent peacefully?" I replied with a photo of Lily sleeping on my chest and the words, "We are doing just fine." And we were. I had sleepless nights and fussy feedings and moments where I cried from exhaustion. But I also had peace, control, clarity. I didn't have to tiptoe around a man who saw fatherhood as optional. I didn't have to manage a mother-in-law who thought grandchildren were status symbols. I didn't have to justify my worth. I was enough. One Saturday morning, I was rocking Lily in the living room when I heard voices outside. Curious, I peeked through the curtains. It was the neighbors, standing at the end of the driveway, whispering, pointing toward the street. I stepped out and saw Ethan across the road, standing beside a rental car. Just standing there, staring at the house. He didn't approach, didn't knock. He just stood. And then he turned, got in, and drove away. I didn't feel sad. I felt done. That night, after Lily drifted off to sleep, I curled up beside her, watching her tiny chest rise and fall. I thought about everything we'd survived. The betrayal, the birth, the lies, the digital lynching. And then I smiled. Not because it was all behind me, but because I had something to look forward to. A future where love wasn't begged for, where peace wasn't conditional, where my daughter would grow up knowing that strength didn't always look like muscle, but sometimes like walking away. I whispered into her hair, "It's just us now, baby girl, and that's more than enough."